Hello, everyone. I'm AC Coppens. I'm the founder of The Catalyst. We are a boutique consultancy, boosting the development of innovative and creative players at the crossing of technology on the one hand and creative content on the other hand. So in addition to strategize for companies, curate program conferences, and very often MC them, we also represent a number of very talented speakers, and we invited them to share their insights with you in this specific series to help us to make sense of this very specific current situation that we have now, what it means for the creative industries and for society. So we have this weekly series which is made by and for people working in the conference and event space, and we want to share this with you. And today we have a very specific subject. We are doing a lot in the immersive media and technology space. We have a lot of speakers in that space too. And we started this immersive journey with Alicia Naples next week. We continue this week with Kathleen Schröter, an immersive media expert helping companies understand the human potential of technology. And Kathleen has been working for more than 11 years, as head of marketing and communications at the Fraunhofer Heinrich Hertz Institute, which is a research institute for digital society. And she was really translating the newest technological developments to stories. And there, Kathleen helped to bridge cutting-edge scientific development to business and product solutions across AR, XR, AI, human-machine interaction. And her insights allowed professionals across industry, but also the media and the broader public to contextualize tech trends and deepen their understanding of R&D processes and explore sci-fi scenario that could come maybe to reality. So no wonder Kathleen was one of the 13 impactful women in tech honored with a Distinguished Leadership Awards by the Advanced Imaging Society. But what we like most is that she uses interdisciplinary approach, mixing a rigorous understanding of cutting-edge technology with other ways of knowing, rooted in the science of yoga, I disclose, a passion of Kathleen, nature, but also ancient philosophy. In her current role of Technologist and Alchemist, we love the title, at J2C, she helps companies to drive their business forward by creating connections between concepts and people. She works with clients from a broad range of industries, from food tech to music, and help them market and develop their business. So as a public speaker, Kathleen inspires us, and I hope we will see a lot of these synergies of interdisciplinary approaches, and I'm sure we're going to do this today. And Kathleen, the word is yours. The stage is yours, I wanted to say, but the digital stage is yours.
Thank you so much, AC, for this very kind introduction. I'm so pleased to see so many familiar and new faces, or not faces, but names from the US. Hey, good morning. In France, and wow, Amsterdam. Thank you so much for joining. I want to start with something that is dear to my heart, and we also will finish there, I hope so, at least. And it also gives credit to Alicia's talk last week. You and a lot of other people reminded me actually why I decided to change my profession. In the last 13 years with Fraunhofer, I was in all those management roles, and I helped to companies to connect to scientists, but also to artists, and to give an understanding of their technologies. But I have to say, in all those years, what touched me the most, inspired me the most, was not only the scientists showed me what is available in the near future, what will be developed further technology-wise, but also the artists that we met, or the artists, well, we met at various festivals, and I see Ludger Fun's name here. So actually one of the most inspiring, intellectual inspiring festivals I've been to is the Beyond Festival, where I met a couple of scientists that I will refer to today, and artists. because artists are the ones who are using that technology that is developed, and they are asking questions that the peer group of those specific scientists would never ask. Like, they would never come to that point. The scientists always want to have the approval of their peer group, but that's not the people who would use the technology. So let's talk with artists, and that's why, yeah, my thinking was changed over the last years, really profoundly by artists and a really interdisciplinarity group of people. And this talk here is based on the technology that I was talking about a lot of years, but also on what happened in the last, I'd say 9 to 10 weeks. I was in an isolation, I have to say. I was 8 weeks in India. We had a lockdown there, and then I was another 2 weeks in quarantine in Germany. So obviously we all have a different view on what's going on. I also have one that is more really isolated, and so I had a lot of time to, well, to generate and think about everything that is going on. So this is inspired also by the political, social, and economic situation we are all facing right now. But maybe I should rephrase, because I'm not facing that. I'm facing different things that you face. And the injustice we see, and why I'm happy that I see a lot of American folks here, what we see, the movements that are going on right now, I'm not facing that. So I want to have the possibility to step in someone else's shoes. And I want to give other people this opportunity. And that's why I'm a really big believer in virtual and augmented realities, or in immersive technologies, because I saw how it really helps to connect to, I'd say, disconnected to society, or to people with different backgrounds. So I'd like to share my screen now with you. So let's see. There we go. Okay, so I give you a bit of background why virtual reality, augmented reality, everything that is in this immersion field works. And I'm not sure if some of you have teachers in your family, but if you don't, you maybe have never heard of that, the Edgar Dale cone of experience. To sum that up really short, is what you see here, what we remember after 2 weeks, it's 10% of what we read, what we have read, and 90% of what we experienced, or of what we simulated. That could be a theater play, but it could be also a virtual experience. Or really easy example is the flight simulators, where pilots go in. It's a simulation of the real situation that helps you to learn, and that basically goes, well, into the core of both of your brain science, and helps you really to remember. A second part, and I want to look into what happens in your brain, especially in virtual reality, is something that I stepped over when I was at the Beyond Festival. There was the scientist, Professor Thomas Metzinger, who introduced me to the rubber hand illusion. And here I have a picture, the example of Lee Walsh in Australia, who's working on that and with that, and also working here with EEGs connected to participants. So for everybody who doesn't know the rubber hand illusion, it's basically, you can try that at home. You take a rubber hand, like for instance, for your cleaning gloves, and you put cotton in it, and then hopefully you have a partner or your neighbor or someone who is stroking your real hand, like here the reporter, her right hand, is stroked simultaneously with the rubber hand that is in front of her. After 20 to 90 seconds, she believes, or you will believe, that what you feel there is happening at the hand that you see in front of you, so at the rubber hand. So here, Dr. Walsh is asking the reporter, after a couple of seconds, she's like, oh, okay, I can feel it, that's weird. Then he asks her, okay, now close your eyes and look and type there where you feel the sensation. And as you see, she feels it in the rubber hand. The conclusion to all these experiments, there's also a couple of things around the full body illusion that also Thomas Metzinger is working on, and also Mel Slater. I will talk about him later. But the sense is, or the essential is that the sense of body and the sense of self is changeable and manipulable. And we can use those findings in virtual reality, can we? I want to give you two slides on what's going on right now for everybody who has no idea, or at least only a small idea. So here on the left side, we have the two main virtual reality glasses or head-mounted displays that are in the market right now. Last week or 2 weeks ago, HP also announced their newest product, which is the HP Reverbs G2. That's the small picture was the only one I could find yet. But you see here, or you don't see, sorry. They are both, the HTC Vive and the HP glasses are connected still with a cable. You see it a bit. So they are connected to high performance computers. Why? Because they have really high resolution displays involved. Here in the HP version, they are saying it's 2K per eye. So we have two screens that give you HD each. For the consumers right now at home, where you don't need to put that connected to a computer, we have Oculus Quest or Lenovo Mirage Solo. I also have one of these, and it gives you the opportunity to really freely walk around and only have a 2x2 meter area. And you don't need to have any tracker in your home. It basically is done with your joysticks that you are holding, so you can measure the room around you. When it comes to augmented reality, here to the right, these two glasses, Microsoft HoloLens and the Meta, are really used already in industrial applications. So in manufacturing, automotive industry, in training, for instance, where also in repairment, when it comes to the repairment of elevators, these are already used. And I show you what happens this year, or what's supposed to happen this year. So augmented reality is on the edge to really get into the mass market. Maybe this month, we don't know because of Corona, it got a bit delayed, but the Unreal augmented reality glasses are supposed to come out, go to the market in Germany. It is said that the Deutsche Telekom will help to push that to the market. Here we have my friend and colleague, the CEO, Sven Bliedung of Voyucap, who's using the Unreal glasses already because he's in the developer group. So that's how he looks like when he goes grocery shopping nowadays. So those glasses come out to the mass market now. Magic Leap, we heard Alicia was working for this company a couple of years ago. It's a very interesting company because they have such a variety of, or a diversity of people working there, from designers to hardware and software developers, but also to science fiction authors. So let's see when this comes out, because we also heard some negative news that they had to let go half of their employees. So let's see. But what drives a lot of people and pushes to talk about it, and then over the years, again and again, last week, there was another rumor saying that the Apple glasses will be named eyeglass. And that's at the next announcement, which is normally in October, when they say, okay, there will be a new iPhone coming out. Then they will also say, by the way, the new glasses, and obviously also the watches are coming out. Maybe this event will postpone to November due to the situation right now. But they're saying that it's highly possible that the glasses will be announced. That doesn't mean that they come out next year. It could be also the announcement they're saying maybe in 2022. Because a lot of people always ask me, so, hey, don't you think there should be something much cooler coming out that is not that bulky and so forth? You must have seen something. Well, a lot of people have seen something, and that was at CES this year. At least some reporters were able to already look through the latest stage of the Mojo lens. They had tweezers in their hand, and the tweezers holded the lenses, and they were allowed to look through the lens and see what the augmented reality experience will be like. We don't know when this comes out. You can check on their website. They're also saying exactly that. Let's see in the next years. I would be really keen on trying that, but maybe I'm not sure if I would be in the beta group. I'm not sure. That's about the hardware. So now two examples from how to develop, oh no, sorry, how to produce and capture realistic visions of people, so of moving objects or subjects for virtual and augmented reality. So I have two examples, but the third one was actually already mentioned by Alicia last week, which was a Marina Abramovic piece where they captured her in volumetric in France in a studio. Here we have an example of Sir David Attenborough. For the Germans, he's not that well known, but for everybody who grew up in the English-speaking environment, he is a legend. So Sir David Attenborough is basically the voice behind the BBC documentaries and a real legend. So he was captured with Microsoft's VolueCap studio or volumetric studio in Redmond. So just imagine this guy is already over 90, and that was in 2018 when they released that as South by Southwest. So it was definitely already 90 when they captured him and brought him over to America. Hold the World is a beautiful experience where you see a volumetric image of him. Here you see a bit in this small image. It's a lot of cameras around this person capturing all his mimics and gestures. And so in this experience, which is the result, you can sit opposite of him with him at this table. This is because they only recorded everything above the table. But you still have the illusion that you can really sit in front of him. And I did this experience, and I have to say, the accuracy even of the wrinkles was beautiful. So I really thought I'm sitting with him and he's telling me which drawers to open. And this is also integrated with photogrammetry. So you see this library behind you that is photogrammetry of the museum. And then we have 3D CGI images of the fossils here. So you open the drawer and then there's a dinosaur, any fossil is in there, and then you can expand it, you can turn it around, and you can see it from every angle. And he encourages you to do so. Another example, and that would be then the third in volumetric, what is right now possible is the studio in Babelsberg we have with VolueCap, where here you see the example of Fuerteventura. It was the 30th anniversary of this hip hop band, a German legend, and they have been captured volumetrically in the studio. And this experience is also integrating 360 video, photogrammetry, and even morphing of the four guys, because as we have them since 30 years on video and photos, we have a lot of photos to morph them from their 30 years younger me to the now. That was 2019. And in this experience, you are part of their very famous song, Tag am Meer, Day at the Beach, Day at the Sea. And you can use this bubble here. So they are throwing the balls to you, and you can catch the ball and put it over your head, and then you are in the next scene. Then you're maybe in one of the 360 captures of being in their studio. So those are the examples how to capture people really realistically. And so I want to use the last part of my presentation to give you examples where I really believe that presence was already, how to say, we already reached that part, and also give you the possibility to get to know more about scientific research behind virtual and augmented reality, because it maybe shows you what is possible and what should be addressed when you are creating anything for immersive experiences. I want to give you, so please watch the video. That was Alicia Neppel's last week presentation. At the Stereopsia in Brussels, we give out the Advanced Imaging Society Awards every year, and I'm also in the jury. I'm lucky enough to always watch beautiful entries, and Daughters of Schiborg was also one. And as I said at the beginning, you reminded me why I wanted to change my profession. I really want to help to move those things forward. And What Alicia told us is that this experience got so much cover that there was someone who said, I can't bring their daughters back to the village, but I can bring them electricity. I am having just goosebumps now just telling you that story. So I'm sure Alicia can tell us the name again later on, who was that this brave human being who brought the electricity to this village. So Daughters of Cherbourg also really reached my heart when I watched that 360 video experience. A second example is Home After War, which we showed at the Beyond Festival 2 years ago. And this is an experience made by Gayatri Bharaveshwaran. She's here from Berlin, from Now Here Media. And what this experience is a photogrammetry, meaning, I didn't explain that earlier for those who don't know that. So it's basically you take thousands of pictures of the environment around you and you create a 3D model out of this. So you basically stitch all the pictures together, and then the participants who are in VR glasses, they can freely move around the environment and can really feel that they are in this room that you captured. So here this is a combination of photogrammetry, of 360 video, and of a 3D capture of that father here who takes you into his story. And this was in cooperation with the Geneva International Center for Humanitarian Demining. Telling you what it is about. It's basically about, so ISIS left Fallujah, and I don't know which authority is saying that, but the authority said it's safe to go back home. Well, it's not safe because ISIS booby-trapped the electric wires. So there are bombs connected to somewhere. And this father of 2 sons is bringing you closer to his story, and you are standing with him on top of his house and of his bombed house. I think why it was really also powerful to have it as an experience at a festival where a lot of people can go and where you have a bigger installation was that at Beyond Festival they had even a platform where you stand on that is moving. So you see where this is going. If it's about booby trapping bombs, then when there is a bomb and he's telling you the story, then they also combine that with audiovisual and moving sensations. So the platform moves and you feel like you have a tinnitus and you see a white screen when the bomb explodes. A very powerful piece. Something that I think is really important nowadays as well is to not forget our own history, because a lot of people who can't connect to the situation that happens in Fallujah or other Middle East regions, maybe they can more relate to what happened in Europe or to the people who are living in America, because they are refugees from the Nazi regime. And here is a beautiful example of the Illinois Holocaust Museum. They have a cinema, and they show a short video where Fritzsche, one of the survivors of Auschwitz, is telling her story. And she is at the end telling the participants that she's happy to answer questions. So the curtains open after this video, and then you see a hologram of Fritzi. So she's sitting on this stool. And what happens is basically that everybody in that cinema is asking questions. And because so many questions and answers were recorded with Fritzi, an algorithm can obviously understand which question is asked and give the answer that Fritzi really gave to that. Other examples to that is, I think I saw one, no, I don't think so, I know, I saw one at the Infinity Festival that was recorded. That was the Defying the Nazis, the Sharps War, that was directed by Elia Alan Blitz. That was discussed at the festival there. But also there's a WDR example of, again, a 3D capture of Holocaust survivors. You can find that on their Mediathek. And The Last Goodbye, a 360 experience, used 3D, green screen, photogrammetry, CGI, all the different technologies to give you a real immersion and a real feeling of presence. So let's go to one of the really beautiful examples. I couldn't find a better resolution picture of that. It's really hard to find that because that is a co-production of Taiwan and France, and I saw that also at Stereopsia, or it was one of the entries for the awards. What was really beautiful about that is here this tribe is asking you or inviting you to sing with them, to sing the ancient songs. And they are saying, well, our tradition and our history is transported and the wisdom of our ancestors is transported through music. And with voice recognition, they basically ask you to sing with them. So when I did the research for my talk today, I actually watched the video and I immediately had it stuck in my head with this song that I was singing with the tribe. So in this is a 360 video, but then you see it's a CGI integrated here, the background where you are part of the forest. They are saying the song is transporting the story of the forest and is giving us a connection to nature. The more you sing with them, the more vivid the colors and the CGI pictures become. And then you basically feel like you are part of it. At least I felt that it was a beautiful experience where I could understand more of their history. Now I want to step into the last two examples, but they are much more not for the public to experience, but much more giving you an insight into what happens in the research since, I believe, 2 decades. In the event lab in Barcelona, I mentioned Mel Slater. So Thomas Metzinger and Mel Slater work together. That's beautiful that philosophers and scientists, neuroscientists, computer visions artists, and so forth, they work together to give us new insights into what is possible with virtual reality. I brought you 2 examples of their work. So the drumming in immersive virtual reality, that was a published paper at IEEE. The title already gives you a bit of the glimpse what is the outcome. The body shapes the way we play. What is interesting here, so the participants who were part of this experience were 36 Caucasian people participated in that between group experiment where they played a West African djembe. Here you see a djembe. So someone explained them how to play a djembe before they put on the headsets. They have the headset and they have the full body suit, the motion capture suit here. And with them is together someone else who is playing the drums. So you have 3 different scenarios. In the first one, you only see white hands that looks like white gloves, but this is synchronized obviously because of the motion capture with your motions. So you are playing the drum. By the way, I have to say, they only showed male avatars, but out of this group, it was half female participants. But what you see, so the white hands, in the second one, you see a darker colored and really leisure clothed man. And in the third one, you see uptight white person. To shorten the story, what they found is that that people, when they had the full body ownership, when they really understood the illusion and what I said with the rubber hand illusion, it takes a couple of seconds. It can lead to substantial behavioral and cognitive changes. The people who saw themselves as the leisure closed dark skin performed more vivid. They performed differently. They performed differently from their normal behavior. And I said it was Caucasian, so it was nobody of color who played who was participating here. So the paper basically showed, okay, we have unconscious bias towards what we look like or what someone else looks like. Also interesting is to mention there's the second person who's playing with you. And that is really interesting because they said, because there's someone else next to me, that person sees that I look different, so I'm also allowed to behave differently, or maybe I'm expected to behave differently. So let's have that in mind for later discussions. And the last example I want to share with you is really profound. And when you watch the video that is accompanying this paper, which has just been published, it says, caution, you might not want to watch that. But it's not horror or something, but what it is about is sexual harassment. So we have a group of 60 male who are split into 3. So the participants, we have 20 who are in this environment here. I took a screenshot of the experience when you see that this person looks away in the mirror. You see there is a lady sitting alone, and then there are 4 guys. So 20 of the participants are part of the 4 guys, 20 are embodied in the female, and 20 are just the control group who are sitting in an empty bar. So this is the outside of the bar. And they took them through the experience. The experience is basically that you are, when you are part of the 4 guys, you are maybe the one in the red shirt. The other guys are approaching the lady and telling her, hey, chica, come over, what's your name? She's not reacting. They become more aggressive and saying basically everything, oh, girls, what are they talking about, blah, 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 you can't, and so forth. And she's saying, leave me alone, don't you have to do anything better? As you are part of the 4 people, you could say something, but obviously it's recorded, it's pre-recorded, so the situation goes on. It stops when one of them stands up and wants to approach her. So those 60 people, they came back 1 week later. So it's 2 parts of this experience. And maybe some of you heard of the Milgram obedience scenario. Basically, you can look it up. Basically, what happened 1 week later, they put the participants into another virtual reality experience where they see 3 guys and themselves in a male body, and opposite of them, they see a woman. And in this obedience scenario, basically those guys are asking questions to the female, and she's a learner. So every time she is answering the questions wrong, she gets electrical shocks. So you, as the participant, you are asked to give the electrical shocks. So guess what the findings are? And this surprised actually the scientists. The findings, so the people who have been embodied in the female were likely to have 50% less, or give 50% less electrical shocks than the control group. So I should say, sorry, all of them have been asked after the experience how they felt, and the people who were embodied in the female said it was really uncomfortable. I felt really harassed. And the guys who have been in the group with the other guy said, yeah, it was not comfortable. I felt a bit of shame, or they also called it that they felt pity for the girl. So you could imagine that they have similar results, but it's the opposite. The 20 people who have been embodied in the male, being part of the 4 guys of this group, actually performed higher electrical shocks. Well, I'm really happy to discuss that further, but what I want to say here is, maybe, I don't know if you can guess that, but where did that research actually come from? So that was initiated by a question posed by the US Office of Naval Research. There are circumstances when a group of military personnel might engage in illegal and immoral acts against others, and each person participated because of the overall group solidarity and individual conformity. Are there ways to combat this? So that was the research question. The answer appeared to be the affirmative. By allowing, and that is now I'm quoting the end of the published paper, by allowing group members to take part in such a virtual scenario and then live through the consequences of their own actions as a victim, they may become aware of the illegality and immorality of the behavior, and thus avoid engaging in such behavior. Well, they say at the end of this paper, of course, this is a hypothesis which although based on the results, need to be addressed further. And with that, I'm happy to open that for discussions.
Okay, Kathleen, thank you very much first for this presentation and your insights on the topic. I have a lot of questions, but maybe, I mean, if someone in the chat wants to start, our guests go first, of course. Anyone? Joanna, did you check the chat if we have someone here? So I go on, right? I may go on? Okay, cool. Super good. I mean, you were speaking in the last example also on the, I mean, it reminded me of the empathy machine also, like because of you feel presence, you feel maybe emotion, maybe you're triggered there and you might be more into an empathetic behavior, right? So does this empathy come from presence really, or is this the media which is actually fooling with our brain?
If the media is fooling with our brain, I believe you see here the experiment also didn't show any realistic appearance of the people, right? It was really clear that these are avatars, but still because it was interactive and the participants can see their bodies in the reflection of the glasses of that outside of the bar, right? So you see when you wave that your mirror, your virtual self is there. So, and it also gives you a couple of seconds to understand the embodiment, understand you can look down at your body. Also as the female, they look down and they say, oh God, I have breasts, okay. I wouldn't call anything an empathy machine because I think it's an oxymoron.
Right.
But I believe the empathy here is very interesting because of the findings that they didn't see coming, like with the empathy of the group. So they wanted to feel like, this is a hypothesis, right? Why did they have higher electrical shocks with the group, with the people who have been part of that group? And they're saying, well, it could be because feeling connected and feeling approved of others, being part of a group, makes you feel good, makes you feel like you are spending. I mean, there is a lot of research on the subject of belonging. And when you belong to a group, I think it's one of the political issues that we have. When you belong to a group, then you feel better. You don't feel alone anymore, and you feel that someone hears you.
Absolutely. I think that this feeling of loneliness, and I see that we have a question which is also addressing the digital humans. There was this article about technology on loneliness also, which was actually like evoking all the aspects which are creating presence somehow. And the first one was called, okay, VR, AR, and something which is coming from the imaging technology, saying like, oh, there is something in front of us, or we are there. But it's also the social presence. So when this is mixed with social media, for example, and there was also the aspect of robots. robots as humanoid robots, but also I would extend this to the digital humans we're talking about right now. So it's really interesting because the study is really suggesting that when all the things are coming up together, then you might have a better sense of presence. It's not really a question, I would say, or maybe it is like, oh, this is getting to science fiction now, but maybe we can just take this as a remark and link into the question of Siegfried. Joe, would you like to take this
Siegfried
over?
maybe himself.
Yeah, Siegfried, would you like to share? It's a very interesting comment, and you're kind of speaking about your own work as well, so it'd be great to hear from you personally.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, no, we work a lot on the digital human, you know, so we come from a scientific and technology research angle, and basically we are pretty close now to being able to put an actor that is completely done with computers. I mean, we can do all the graphics, and now what we're working on is how can we animate that actor? So how can we give him body language? How can we give expressions? How can we give facial and emotions to that person? And what you were saying about the multidisciplinary approach is actually exactly what I've been thinking this morning when I said, well, we somehow now need to think about what is actually anger and what is love and what is feeling happy, and which of those emotions can I superimpose? How can I bring this character to life in the end? And therefore, yeah, very, very interesting what you give as an overview of different experiences that touched you. And my question really would be if you have a recommendation for us who work on that digital human of what we should do to make it more human.
That is a beautiful question, and please excuse that but my answer will be really philosophically. So what I believe, the more I worked in VR, AR, and AI, like talking about it, the more I was questioning what can humans do, what AI can't do, and what we can't replace. And I think we have to start there, because we can try to mimic everything. But what is the human potential? Like when Siegfried, when you and me are meeting in a room, that is a totally different energy than this year, than just talking with each other. So also when I think that's AC referred to that. So when Facebook shows, oh, you can go now with your avatar to meet your grandfather and sit with him on the couch, and your avatar looks so realistic with all the mimics and gestures that you really feel that you were there with him. Yeah, maybe, and maybe it reaches to a really interesting point, but the energy in the room is something we really can't or cannot yet explain, because we only understand like this tiny part. And I think that's also why I got into studying yoga science and the philosophy around it. And that's why I actually also became a permaculture designer, learning from nature and tapping into all those things. I would say, to answer your question with one sentence, let's talk together, let's work together, because I also see one of my colleagues here, Jo, we love interdisciplinarity teams, and we work on this, what is the human factor? Like, how can we connect? And that's why I also love that experience that Alicia showed us last week with Marina Abramovic. Some of my colleagues got really inspired by Marina and her work, and that's what we brought, for instance, also to the last EFM Horizon at Berlinale, where we had a workshop on creativity and mental health. I think mental health is one aspect that is not taken care of in all this digital human thing and models, and we have to have behavior study. We have to have a study on what is consciousness. We can't explain consciousness yet, so we have to come together.
Yes. I have to say that, sorry, Catherine, I have to say, talking about consciousness, Yann LeCun is really saying, like, of course, AIs and robots and etc. will have consciousness, maybe not now, but they will at some point, right? And they will have this emotional aspect also. And that's one thing I wanted to say. And I know we could discuss long about this. This is a fascinating thing. I love this. I wanted maybe to evoke also like emo shape. I don't know if you know these guys. They are French, but okay, they do it in the States. They have this crazy chip identifying, and I think it is something like, Joanna, maybe you can put the thing in the chat. I think it is 60 billion different emotions they can actually recognize with the chip of the robots or humanoid robots or voices around coming up, and they can reintroduce them by a real-time interaction. So identifying the emotion and react, actually adapted to this emotion with the tone, being able to analyze it and to give it back in the feedback. So I think this is really quite something. And this will probably be something which is adaptable to humanoid robots, but also and definitely digital humans, because you can see it also with digital humans on their demo reel. Actually, you can see this on their demo reel. Yeah, sorry to have interrupted you, but this is the path from presence, energy, feeling, emotion, and then also consciousness. I think it is there. Maybe I would like to also note another study which is extremely interesting, immersion and emotion, impact on the sense of presence. I think this is a very good one. It is designed to test actually the role of immersion and media content in the sense of presence. And they really wanted to see the real value or valence, as they say, the affective valence of the virtual environment. So also the emotional aspect. And they were testing the interactive role of the two media characteristics, form and content. And the interesting result is that both immersion and affective content have an impact on presence. However, immersion was more relevant for non-emotional environments. So it's pretty interesting. And but well, Catherine, you were saying you found the study a little bit limited, right?
Yes. So you used the word interaction, but you mean the interaction between those two parts?
Yes,
what
exactly.
Was not part of the study was interaction itself.
Exactly.
The part when I show the examples, like where you really can do something in the room, can be participating, can engage with the person, can walk around freely. That was not part of that study. They only showed, I think, a playground that was neutral and a playground that looked sad, that was dark. And then they got into that study group, and I believe, or from my perspective, it was too narrow. I would look into more studies that address the same or similar I really believe we have to address the interactive part, because now that what I showed is with augmented reality and with the VR headsets, where you don't only have a 360 degree, what they already call a tradition, where you put 6 GoPros on a 3D printed rig. When you have more than this, then it's a real immersion, then it's interactive virtual reality. And I think that is something that helps to reach presence so much more.
We have another question, right?
Yeah, we have a question from Angus Cameron in the chat. Angus, would you also like to share this personally with your camera and voice, or otherwise I can read it out?
Please, Angus. I haven't heard you in a while.
Did we lose you?
Maybe. Anyway, it's...
No, he's there.
Can you hear me?
Great.
Hi.
Yeah, I'll even try and put my camera on. There you go, so you can see me.
Ooh,
thanks very much.
Hello.
Kathleen. So yeah, I suppose very topical at the moment is the whole challenge with virtual reality being, unless you've got your own kit, something that's shared. And obviously with the world of social distancing and the potential of the challenges that we have with this and whatever other virus that's going to affect society for however long, how is the virtual reality industry going to cope with this?
I think one aspect is really the industrial part, and also how the numbers of usage of virtual reality experience got higher in this time right now, in the last 10 weeks. Virtual events have been created just out of nowhere using those, well, I mean, they're still gimmicky looking avatars, but I was at least part of 2 of them with Laval Virtual in Laval in France. I think Siegfried was also there. There's a lot of potential for virtual reality to push now through, to not have this niche market anymore. But I think you also addressed the social aspect, like more to connect, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you mean like when people are lonely or being isolated at home?
Well, no, I think it's more the fact that, you know, with virtual reality, especially in the early days, it's about how to get the message out there, for people to experience virtual reality. And that's why you have various shows and various experiences where you can get access to the kit. But I think the problem is at the moment that you can't do that because you can't share the equipment, you can't share a space with somebody. So it seems that the industry is totally reliant on people going on faith or from previous experience to buy the kit personally, to have it at home. And at that point, then they're not necessarily sharing that. So it's in their own social bubble. Okay, that is a good point, and I agree here when it comes to VR cinemas or being in the museum where they use virtual reality or augmented reality glasses, that they're absolutely right. In those times, there's no point. And I have my glasses here, and I was actually really sad that I didn't have them with me in the isolation in India. So. I mean, maybe Alicia has an idea on that, but I believe you can. We had this discussion with a broadcaster last week or the week before. I believe that a lot of virtual reality experiences didn't have the breakthrough, not because the glasses were not there, but because they only went 90% of the way. So, for instance, there are those 360-degree experiences where they show it at some exhibition, and then it's in their Mediathek, in their download platform on their normal web page. But they're not looking into, okay, how can we go further? So now you have homeschooling. Why don't you address all the schools and saying, hey, you want to engage the students and you want to get the load off of the parents, give them this experience. And if it's just the desktop version, it's fine, because it's giving them at least a step into it. And after a couple of weeks, hey, let's go to the museum. I want to see the real thing. You know what I mean? Like the outreach we have to be creative. We have to be creative. Everybody has to be creative to find new ways how to bring this to life. So in many respects, the VR industry is going to go into the home rather than into any communal environment for the next year or two, potentially.
Well, definitely not in the next 6 months. I believe there won't be anything.
But I wonder if it's going to change the course of the development of the technology in some respects. Its hand has been.
Alicia is nodding her head. Do you want to say something, please?
Maybe I want to say, Engels, on the 1st of July, we will have Lise Rosenthal, who is going to take a look at the development of the market. So it will be more about the figures, how she envisions the development of the market. So that will be interesting. And second, more for the first part of your question, on the 8th of July, we will have Michel Riac, who will talk again about social presence, physical distance, or what he calls remote physical. I can't remember. He has a very specific expression to bridge this gap. So you don't miss it. I think you will learn more specifically for a full hour only on these questions. That's for sure.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And maybe we can also post in the chat this interesting article from the Facebook Reality Labs. I think it was BC, before Corona. It's an older article, I can't remember the date, but maybe we can have a look, where they say like they're working to enable an ever deeper sense of connection with VR, with AR, and etc. And their goal is to make virtual interaction to feel as natural as in-person interaction, and they call it social presence. So it's an interesting thing to social distance, right? And they talk a lot about VR and AR. And it leads me also to this question, maybe Catherine, to what you think, like, do you think we are about to succeed to bridge the gap with physical distancing?
Because maybe that also refers to the digital humans, because like what Facebook shows is like it all looks so realistic, and then you integrate the emotions and the faces look just as they would be real. If we bridge the gap, that goes back to my comment about energy. I think at some point, yes, but at some point it will be uncanny. Mm-hmm. I have to say, I mean, nobody asked that, but an alchemist, right? What is an alchemist? So I'm taking everything that I see from the different disciplines and make something more beautiful out of it, because bridging it or bringing it together, tying the knots, makes it maybe more visible to the different peer groups. And well, as from the traditional name, it would mean that you take some metals and put it in and turn it into gold, transform it, the transformative part. And what I myself transformed into is a yoga teacher. And I learned with all the scientific background, you know, Max Planck said openly on stage in 1943 that everything, like he is at the end of his research, he thinks he can't go further without integrating philosophers, because what he found out is that everything is matter, and matter is a network of energy and consciousness, and that there is a guidance or something that is leading the consciousness or leading the matter, a conscious that whatever state is leading this energy somewhere. And that is the same that the father of yoga said 2,500 years ago, Patanjali. I learned exactly the same in the yoga teacher training. And I'm like, okay, I don't believe that we know enough about those things that we can copy it into digital humans, into whatever we are trying to connect right now, that with those social VR experiences. I think this part has to be addressed more, and we are like just at the edge of learning the human potential. And for a lot of people, yoga is still an esoteric blah. And oh yeah, you meditate, but they don't go really into this deeper. And I mean, we have the talk with what is this? His name, Tupac.
Oh yeah,
in a couple of weeks. So Tupac is someone who's meditating 2 hours a day.
Yeah, Tupac has been unfortunately postponed, but he will be back probably in the fall. So it will, okay. So that's why Liz is on July the 1st, Michelle is on July the 8th, and we will definitely keep you all posted about Tupac, everybody who has been here on this call. And I think
I think, sorry, just to sum that up, what I want to say is we have seen so many stages of different technologies being ready, but the consumer didn't want to have it. The consumer was not ready. And like with the Google glasses, so AR, the Apple glasses, don't look too different to me than this one. So the design part, where they don't say, or where they don't consider the other person in like opposite of you, who sees you with those glasses and thinks, are you recording me? Are you scanning me? Like those parts are they taking into consideration or not? I don't know. So I'm saying they are so often technology ready, but the market is not. And the digital humans can look as good as they are. And I've seen humanoid robots. I met Robert Hansen and Nadia Thalmann in Singapore with her robot. Uncanny Valley still, but because I don't have the connection to them, I couldn't feel the connection.
Well, I'm sure we will feel the connection later on. Actually, I could engage in the further discussion, like when AI is going to take that field even more substantially on. Thinking about, again, the Facebook labs, making virtual spaces to help AI researchers to teach machine about the real physical world, and etc. I think there is an incredible potential. I don't think either that people are ready to do that yet, to adopt that yet, apart from the fact that the technology is not there yet as an interface to the user, but it's going to be fascinating. So we'll probably
absolutely. I'm sci-fi totally through. My first love was Keanu Reeves because of Matrix. Oh no, the other way around. Anyways.
Wonderful.
Sci-fi, yeah.
Catherine, that was really wonderful. I mean, we could go on forever. Really. Yeah. This discussion is fascinating. I love it. I just wanted to check, is there any last question for us? Otherwise, we could say we finished the formal part of this discussion, and then we can move on for another 10 minutes, maybe, to mingle and network like in real life for those who would like to stay.
Just to show you quickly the upcoming talks.